English language arts teachers have a lot on their plates. In fact, their plates are filled with main courses of reading and writing, with a side of speaking and listening. These topics encompass a wide range of skills, and each area is essential in order for learning to take place in all other subject areas. ELA, English language arts teachers, must always be assessing students in these areas to ensure they acquire the necessary skills to continue their education or succeed in the professional world. This lesson discusses several examples for developing effective assessments for all three main categories for ELA. Reading skills are those necessary to read text, process the information, and gather meaning. Reading is truly essential for all other subject areas. Imagine you are an 8th grade science teacher. What would you do if your students could not read the textbook, or could read but got no meaning from it? Reading is a skill that is universally used, not only in all subject areas, but nearly all workplaces. Since reading is a very internal skill to develop, assessing it can be tricky. The overall purpose of assessing for reading skills is to verify students are learning how to personalize and interpret a variety of texts. Let's use a sample learning standard or objective to discuss ideas for assessing reading skills. Trace the development of a writer's or poet's ideas, viewpoint, and themes through a text, and relate these to other texts read. This standard focuses on theme, which is the moral or message of the story. You can assess for theme using a number of ways, including observation, group work, creative writing, and many more. You might follow these steps. 1. Spend some instructional time defining theme and finding examples in literature. 2. Assess each student, which could include a theme scavenger hunt. Give students different themes to hunt for, like everlasting love or coping with loss. 3. Students must search the textbook or other anthologies to find other pieces of literature that share that theme. This type of assessment could be modified for any number of reading objectives and standards. Basically, your assessments need to show that each student is processing and gaining meaning from various texts. The second major area of language arts is writing, which includes skills needed to express ideas using the written word. These include grammar, punctuation, spelling, and sentence structure. Like reading, writing is also essential across curriculums and in the workplace. Assessments for writing should center on students producing quality writing samples. Here is a sample writing standard. Demonstrate controlled use of a variety of simple and complex sentences to achieve purpose and contribute to overall effect. From this objective, you can do a variety of activities to assess your students. Let's say your students have learned the basics of simple and complex sentences. Now you have to assess whether your students can use both types in their own writing. One activity could be an analysis of a famous speech. Have students identify the simple and complex sentences and explain why the author used them. You can use observation or group work to assess this step. Furthermore, after the analysis, have students write their own speeches on a different topic, but mimicking the structure of the original speech. This will allow you to assess if students can use simple and complex sentences in their own writing. All assessments you create should involve students using a specific writing concept in their own writing. Speaking and listening make up the final area an ELA teacher must assess. Speaking revolves around producing verbal expressions. Listening is the process of hearing words and recognizing the message. Most people focus heavily on reading and writing and turn a blind eye to speaking and listening. However, the latter skills are equally important. Students need to learn how to speak in an appropriate manner and listen to others. Each person will use these skills in every verbal interaction for the rest of his or her life. Let's use the following 2 objectives to discuss ways to assess speaking and listening. Work in groups to formulate ideas and plans of action. Give short presentations and answer questions, maintaining effective organization of talk. There are multitudes of activities you can use to assess these 2 objectives. One impromptu activity is simply asking a student to share a written response. You can observe this student speaking, and then ask another student to summarize, add on to, or give an opinion on the original student's response. Thus, you are observing the second student's listening and speaking skills. You can even give groups 5 minutes to prepare a short presentation of their responses. A more formal assessment for speaking and listening is a class debate. Debates are a fun way to get each student engaged and speaking in class. Be sure to establish roles or jobs in the debate, so each student must speak at some point in the activity. In addition, a debate is, at its heart, a competition. This means students will be listening to the other side's argument, and they will have to respond in the rebuttal portion in order to win the debate. This way, you can observe each student not only speaking, but also as he or she responds to the other team. Thus, a debate could be the perfect way to assess both the speaking and listening skills of your students. To review, ELA teachers must assess skills in several categories. Reading skills revolve around interpreting and understanding text. Writing skills are the ones needed to express ideas via written pieces, and speaking and listening involve expressing ideas and processing the statements of others. There are many ways to assess each category. To assess the reading skills of your students, design an independent, paired, or group activity specific to a certain standard or objective, like a textbook scavenger hunt on theme. To assess writing skills, try starting with analyzing a famous speech before moving on to students writing their own speeches. Finally, to assess speaking and listening skills, ask students to respond to their peers' verbal answers or organize a formal debate. Keep these suggestions in mind as you design assessments for your classroom.